Hey, what's up, everybody? Now I've got volume. Back with another episode after a little hiatus with Party Size Cycling, aka Andrew. We were actually talking about now that you have a physical store, it's weird
Yeah,
to talk about, like, because I've just called you Party Size as kind of like a screen name as a person.
yeah,
And then when I was getting ready to head out, like I was telling like my group, like, oh yeah, and I'm also gonna stop by Party Size. It's become this
yeah.
weird thing. Like I don't know how to say it. Like, it's changed all of a sudden. So yeah,
You tell Otis, like, you call Otis Dirty River.
yeah, yeah. It's kind of different though because I mean I know you started off as like organizing
No, no,
stuff,
no.
but it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
more of an Instagram account than a yeah. So anyways, I did think
For
that was kind
sure.
of funny, but to that point, I did get the chance to stop by and see the shop on
That was a
last
pleasant surprise.
Thursday. Yeah, I didn't tell you because I wasn't sure how traffic would go or anything like that.
Hmm.
And I show up and I walk in, and just like my space, your space is everyone walks in completely backlit. So you were kind of
Yeah.
like something like, "Hey, how can I help you?" And I'm like, "I
And
need
dude, I
some
was in the middle
sealant."
of folding about 200 t-shirts too, so
Yeah,
it was like just mind numbing, and I'm just like, yeah, hey, I gotta get finished with this. But no, that was cool.
yeah. I do have a funny recorded clip of us like cracking up when you like have the realization that it's me walking in.
Yeah,
So
can't wait to see the video.
I am
Party
looking.
says the person in the store, the state of mind. Very true. And to Naptown's point, I did cut my hair. The back is still pretty long, but front is a little bit more chill. I was just tired of having to wear a hat every day, frankly. And Harley from Hair by Harley hooked it up. He's somebody I ride cross with and does like the action wheels rides and stuff like that. He's a good dude. So happy to throw him some business to make me not look like an asshole.
Yep, I did one of my, I don't know, twice a year shaves. So everyone's like, every time I do it on YouTube, everyone's like, who is that? And I'm like, or then I get a lot of, I prefer the beard. And I'm like, don't worry, it grows back. I can't help it.
I think that is a thing for people that can't grow beards very easily, is they're like, oh, like, this will be back in 2 weeks every time I shave. I'm like, don't worry, like, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, this is only like a week and a couple days. It'll be back pretty quick. So I would love to be clean shaven. I've got a rough beard and I bleed a lot if I shave very often. So
I do find that after you shave every day for a while, it like does get soft, or like it does get used to it. I'm also weird. I don't use shaving cream, so it's extra rough.
You just raw dog it.
Just cold water. Shaving cream makes me like break out. Once I sort of made that realization, I stopped using shaving cream, and my face very rarely gets acne anymore. But just sort of figured that out one day. It was like, that's it.
I went to I did a photo shoot with like a pretty cool boutique barbershop around here that I knew the people a few years back now. But the woman who ran it, oh, hey, Edmund, gave me some shaving cream that doesn't foam up like your traditional stuff. It's more of just like I don't know. It's
the lotion-y type of thing.
Yeah, and that like was a big difference. And it finally just ran out because I shave so rarely. So this has been like 6 years of using this. That I was trying to get the last bit out of this tube, and no more was coming. Then I'm like, what else do I have? And then at something, I got some little like can of like Barbasol, and then all of a sudden I just touch it and this like foam, like it's so much with the quickest touch, but then it just goes away instantly. It's all a show, right? I mean, like, you only need like where the razor is hitting your skin. I don't need like foam, like out to here. So anyways.
Yeah. I wonder if Natty has something in the works. I don't think he does have like a shaving.
No, because he has a lot of beard treatment stuff, and he's
yeah. I'm like, you're missing half the half the population at home.
Because he always gives me some of that great beard stuff, and when I remember, I put it on. When I look over, I'm like, oh yeah, I just took a shower. I'll put on some Natty stuff. But yeah, I need a shaving cream from Natty, or shaving lotion, whatever you call it. So
Omar said, I hear that good should not be hidden under the hat. Thank you. But you know, it is funny because so now that I have a haircut that I keeps hair in my face, I haven't worn a hat in like a couple weeks. We were very surprised that I am not like balding. I think everybody, since I wear a hat pretty much every day, I think somebody was like, you have a surprisingly good hairline for somebody that wears a hat every day. So I didn't realize apparently people thought I was hiding maybe going bald. So no.
Yeah, same with me. I wear a hat almost every day, or a cycling cap, and I've got like I so far full head of hair that I hide under, just because it's just curly hair that there's just no way to deal with it. It's either just like froey, or I prefer the cap. So too bad Natty's not in here yet.
Luxurious grooming, all those high-end grooming products. So I'm sure if you want to hear about I'm sure you have a video coming, but NYC talk.
Yeah, so I stopped by your shop on Thursday. Then I was about, I guess, an hour and a half, or a little less than an hour out from where my buddy lived in Jersey City. So got there.
It's not flooding.
Yeah. I got so lucky. Yeah, so yeah, it was crazy. Like, all the turnpikes and everything flooded, but I somehow was on the one freeway on the way into Jersey City that did not. And I've become weirdly like scared of like freeway driving, and I'm like on my game. I'm going to get in so much trouble in the video that comes out because I left it in, but I wanted to watch the tour. I didn't want to watch it. I did want to watch it, but I couldn't because I was driving. Yeah. So I put my phone on the MagSafe, turned the tour on, And since it's just my phone and my car's super old, I have headphones. I have these on. And so I plugged them into the bottom because of MagSafe's charging it. But I did take a quick GoPro clip of driving through the mountains in PA of like the TV or of like my phone showing like the coverage of the race and then me and my headphones. And people are going to go crazy when I know they're going to just get all over me. But
to the channel.
Tim's going to get canceled over this one.
Yeah, I know. People already get mad when I use the GoPro, but they don't understand. Like, I push one button, I don't even have the front-facing screen on. Mm-hmm. So I'm literally, like, when I'm driving, I'm looking directly at the road, driving with one hand like everybody does, and just pointing the GoPro at myself because I know I'm somewhere in the frame. So, got a super chat coming
At Mr. Couch Incident super chatted $10. I hope all is well. Here is some beer money.
Thanks. Why am I not? My chat is not scrolling down to where it was.
I hope all's well. Here's some beer money, Mr. Couch Incident.
Oh, there it is. Thanks, Mr. Couch Incident. Appreciate it. Yeah, for good summer. Yeah. So then we cruised around. We went over to Liberty Park, which for people who don't know, Jersey City has this park. There's actually a bridge to Ellis Island off it, which I had no idea. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize it was connected like that. I took the tour when I was a kid, but that was a long, long time ago. Great views of the statue facing the other direction. And then, we cruised around and just kind of had an evening, went to like a dive bar and got some burgers and stuff like that. And the next day we did go into Manhattan and kind of rode around, watched a little of the World Cup and just kind of bounced around like the Hudson Trail. People think like whenever I make a New York video, they're like, I can never ride there. I'm like, there's like really comfortable trails to ride all the way, like the length of the island. You can see Manhattan really well without being out on the streets.
If you're not pressed for time, it's very easy and safe to get around. It's when you need to get some from A to B in a certain amount of time, and you need to take like maybe one that doesn't have a bike lane. You know what I mean? But like, if you're willing to go over to the the West Side. You can take that all the way up and down pretty much most of Manhattan and then just cut over it. And for a while, I don't know if they're still doing it. 14th was car free. It was just buses and bikes and pedestrians.
I do think you could then
take that over the bridge. Like if you were willing to like sort of get funneled into these like bicycle interstates, if you will, you could get around without really having to ride in traffic other than like your final mile.
Yeah. And if you're not going at a high pace, like riding bike lanes through even Midtown is not that uncomfortable. You just got to worry about the right hook, that's pretty much it. You start looking for the one-way, you get used to looking for the one-way signs. You only really have to look in one direction for most places. But that's where I usually stop is when I see it's a two-way street. That's when I really slow down, but it's rare. But anyways, so just had like a fun day cruising around. And I had said before I left that I didn't really put out there what I was doing because that first night and that first day, I knew I just wanted to see my buddy that moved away and we haven't been able to hang out and I was staying with him. So it was like, when he was like, hey, do you want to jump on the ferry over to Manhattan? I'm like, that's exactly what I want to do. I'm glad you said that, but I wasn't like going to say anything about what we were going to do. And then Saturday I had a plan to ride to Rockaway Beach. So we did that. And something I wanted to see, you know what I mean? Like a part of New York I've never gone to. So
and then you guys play the Ramones song. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. And then we ate at a place called Taco Way Beach, which was awesome. And then the tourist event and I also got to go to a Beers and Cameras event, which was coincidentally going on when I was out there. I saw that got announced, and I was like, and I was already going to go to that place that was having the event just to check it out, Brooklyn Film Cameras. So that was pretty sweet. And then, the New York tourist event. So Terry didn't drop the checkpoints until the day before. So he said, plan for 5 hours out in like Instagram posts. And I said, so I'm planning for 7 hours out because I know how some of his friends are. And then he drops the coordinates and then he drops a route that you could take. He's like, this is the least efficient, but the most fun route. 98 miles.
Whew.
Or maybe it was, something like, I ended up with 98 miles, but it was something around there. And I was like, oh, this is the kind of day we're in for. I knew it was going to be single tracky and there was going to be cutty. And so I knew it would take way longer no matter the mileage, but in my head, I'm thinking like 60 something at the most. But we were all the way up to Sleepy Hollow, all the way up to Hudson there. And then the checkpoints, you really had to find them. They were like down like cutty trails and stuff like that. So it was fun. I fell in with a crew that were great. It just like they were riding like the pace I wanted to ride. They kind of were. We started hanging together. Like we started making group decisions. So it was pretty cool to not go do all that alone. And I did run into some people I know from Gunks and from some other New York events. But yeah, it was cool. We got back to Weiss around Weiss Manufacturing is where it ended. Probably close to 8, and they said it went till 9. But Terry's cooking everyone hot dogs, and they had some beer, so it was just in time for like a little.
Playing for 5 hours for a century. That's you assuming everybody's going to average 20 with the stops. Dang.
Yeah, the dude who of course won it was one of the Weiss guys, and he came in at 5:03, I guess. Amazing.
Okay.
And so you don't need to. You didn't. I didn't see the mileage they did. But I think you were able to get it down to like 80 or something and you could ride, what is that, I-9? What's the kind of the road that all the roadies ride up and down the Jersey coast? Yeah. What is it?
W9?
Yeah, that's what it is. Yep. And we jumped out on there because there was a issue with one of the trails where the cops started kicking us off. So I have never seen so many roadies in my life. Like, it's interesting because talk about a bubble. Like I'm well aware of like the other facets of cycling, but when you go outside of New York and you get on a road like that with wide shoulders, like it was just amazing. I mean, I probably saw. God, I don't think saying 500 would be a crazy number.
No, that's a really popular roadie stretch there.
Yeah,
for everybody cuts out of the city and does that. I think what it goes down to George Washington or up to the George Washington when you're going. So yeah, that's the thing. I remember having to go visit a customer in like Inglewood Cliffs and just watching just road cyclists just come flying through there because it was like it's the last exit before or it's like right near the George Washington Bridge. So it's just all the people doing that route. It's probably one of the most roadied thing because it's everybody that rides a road bike in the city just pops out.
Yeah,
and does that.
And you go between the Tappan Zee, it looks like, and that one. There's all those small towns and the cafes we passed it and and the restaurants. There's just a bunch of road bikes outside and people getting their coffee or their lunch or their breakfast halfway through the ride. I just saw Hev
I've
Dread.
actually never done it, but I do. I know it's a pretty popular thing.
So Hev Dread just popped in. So we had met on the OCA when I was riding it with Dylan, and so we caught up with each other on the first bit of single track, and we're not far onto the single. We're just over the George Washington Bridge, getting onto the single track. And a couple miles into the single track, he goes down to tighten his BOA on his clipless shoe. And it just, I hear the noise, and I'm like, did your BOA just break? And as someone who doesn't even ride clipless, I'm just like, that has to be what just happened. He's like, yep. So, like, it's like, oh, God. But luckily, he lives farther up, and he was able to get someone, or probably a partner or someone to drop him some different shoes. But we'd be about to go down one of these crazy Terry Beak that mirrors the W9 descents. And I was like, this one's probably rideable, but I think I'm going to walk it. He's like, well, I'm going to walk it with one clipped-in shoe, too. So, yeah. Oh, they're talking about your cat in the background, too.
Oh, yeah, we got adopted a new cat who we are slowly, it's been living in that room for the last couple of days. We had 2 cats, but the one's still hiding. But so we're just opening the doors, so he's getting used to coming and going and exploring more of the house slowly. So, yeah, Tim, I was jealous that Tim gets to play with the cat.
It was the stream motivation. So, I guess.
So I needed. I was like, oh, I'll have a Tater. Tater is that one, and then Poe is the other one.
Nice. And you said Poe's more still just hiding at this point.
Poe is still hiding under the couch. It's come out a few times, but Tater is flying around. Tater was we named Tater first because my wife has had 2 other orange cats, both named Tater. So we're like, we got another orange cat. Naming them Tater.
Really?
And then Poe kind of came off of Tater. It works on its own because it's a black cat, and then it works obviously as the Poe Tater.
Yeah.
Through line. So anyway.
Nice. You were saying it
for everyone.
You were saying it in reverse, and it didn't make sense till right now. Yeah, but I got it.
So yeah, if you see that going around, you might see my son and wife there in the other room playing with the cat because that's what all we do now is cat time.
It makes sense.
I haven't had a pet in a while, so it's...
Yeah. So no one commented about the audio. So I think I got the levels right because I used the other mic.
First try.
Yeah, it's supposed to. This one's just better for when we do it like this. It just gives me more volume. So, anyways, good. So, topic, the title I posted, it came up because we were chatting when I was at your bike shop. We have both been listening to Ronnie and Arya's podcast. So, if you guys haven't, check it out. It's on. Is his YouTube channel it's called Ultra Romance? Now I don't know. Or Ronnie,
I don't know. I listened to it on a podcast app, so I don't know.
He has it on YouTube too. But wherever you listen to podcasts or whatever, if you type in Ronnie Romance or Ultra Romance, I'm sure you would find it. But they come out every Tuesday. There's a new one today. I'm only about a quarter of the way in while I was doing some work. But they were talking about alt cycling and money. And it was like a really interesting conversation. And one of the things I found really interesting is I talk to Ronnie at events, like his event, not Meg, and, go there, and he's this really friendly, really nice dude putting on great community event. Like I said, I've seen this guy sweeping the floors at Nutmeg, and I've watched him like empty trash cans and do all the stuff and help in Aria too. Like they're coordinating the volunteers, they're working the table when you're checking in. And then I've heard like some people say like, oh, these are, just wealthy people. I'm like, okay, whatever. I have no idea. And I follow his account. He travels sometimes. He has a couple bike brands. He makes bags. He is half owner of a tire company. And none of that, like how much he makes, was never like a consideration that I've ever thought about or something I really needed to care about, or whether he was generationally wealthy and that's how he does whatever he wants. Because I'm like, who cares? This is obviously a cool dude. So, and that's all I care about. But then it was interesting because they were just addressing some comments, and it just seems like lately there's been this big narrative talking about Swift and Crust and just every different brand. And I've been involved in it, like on Instagram and stuff. So it's just been kind of interesting to see what's going on. And I think, wasn't Ronnie saying and Arya were saying how, like, it's not cool to have money if you're an alt cyclist, but clearly,
or just like a punk in general, right? So
punk, yeah,
cycling is the punk aspect of cycling, like, same thing. Death knell and punk. If somebody finds they have a trust, right? Like,
yeah. So it's just like one of those things where it's like, obviously, being in New York this weekend and riding, and the crew I fell in with, no idea who they are, what they do for a living. They're cool people, but then you would get these little hints from other people you were talking to about exactly where they lived in Brooklyn and like what, just these little things. They're like, oh, these are probably people with a lot more money than me, but it doesn't matter. It's just something you're thinking in the back of your mind, like whatever. Like, I don't know. I've always felt this way about like, if people are cool, I don't care, but everybody still looks at everyone's social media and wonders what everybody else is doing, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, to some extent.
Yeah.
I think it's always. I do feel like alt cycling has two ends of the spectrum, right? So I feel like there is the end that is maybe doing it out of necessity or just doing it out of like I don't know, what do you want to call it? Like just a keeping. It's like hard to find the right vocabulary.
I know that's already
because I want to choose my words carefully. I
struggled with this intro. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can. Right, so either you have enough money to be able to essentially make art out of your bike, right? So it's not a utilitarian in that sense of it. It's like this piece of art that you can ride and you can do these things, and you put a lot of money into it, you put a lot of time, you put a lot of effort into it. Or alt cycling can also be like, I tinker because that's my necessity, or because I ride because I avoid the other expenses and other things like that. And so I think alt cycling tends to miss the middle, where I think you have like a lot of like the common bigger bike brands that serve that sort of middle ground. I talk about this a lot with our shop too. Like, we're serving the two different sides and like sort of skipping the middle. I think that's alt cycling does the same thing, right? It skips that sort of middle ground and focuses on both like high end art, low end sort of utilitarian, and like that comes together. So I think naturally you're kind of going to have a clash, right? If that's the two things that you have going on, because there's two sort of opposite ends of the spectrum, right? I do want to preface one thing before we get talking about this, because I might come off as a bad guy during this whole thing. I don't know. We'll see. But like, this is all coming from a place like, no matter who you are or what you do, you deserve universal income. Like that's something that I think everybody deserves, to be able to live and feed their family and have a family and not have to worry about where the next meal's coming from, and like have a roof over their head. Remember what you do, no matter how many skills you have or like what your income bracket is, right? Like, fair enough. And then also, I would say sort of like there. Anyway, we'll get into the other part, but I think like to start from everything I'm saying that. But also, there's like a thing where, you know, hey, if you, I don't know how to get into this. Do you want to get into one of the claims that was recently made was like about comparing money, they're like bikes, to like the alternative to what you could have done with that money?
Yes,
Do you want to start there?
So what I'll say this right away. So one of the things that's been going around the community is like, and I don't care what the number is, because that number could be different for anyone. But so let's say we're not talking about high end carbon road bikes. So we're talking about a pretty nice alt cycling build. So we're in the $5,000-ish range, up or down a little bit. Like if you buy that, some of this money could be going to do other things. And I just
hang on one second.
Go for it.
Cat is stuck in a thing.
Well, hang on while he saves the cat.
I'm out of here. I realized my microphone's on. He was I have a console with like a record player on top of it, and he was stuck upside down in the slit in the back to run the wires.
Cats are the best. Sorry. Yeah. But I guess I was just the idea that you spend money on one thing, and that means one to suppose someone isn't spending money on something else is already a bullshit place to start from. Yeah. Because, like, I don't know, maybe someone bought a $5,000 bike after volunteering at the food bank all weekend. Like, you don't know that anyway, so whatever. But again, I just think like what you actually started with, the universal income thing, is I think there's nothing more capitalist than the idea of it's your personal responsibility to take care of the poor or anything else. I've said this about AI. I've said this about recycling. Like, my whole life, when I was a kid, we took bottles back to the store to be refilled. We didn't stop doing it because we refused to do it. The companies realized it was cheaper to sell you plastic, say it's recyclable, and then it gets thrown away and it all goes in the trash. That was a decision that came top down. We had nothing to do with it. And so now these capitalists at the top always love to push the personal responsibility narrative. And I feel, and same with AI, like if someone makes some stupid, ugly party AI invitation, they're not the problem. That not regulating data centers is the problem. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's the same thing when it comes to this kind of topic, when you're like, you bought this nice thing for yourself, you could have helped the poor. That is the same, like, what do you mean? Like, where I guess I don't get where, if you bought a $2,000 bike and you donated $3,000, that doesn't solve the fucking problem. Like,
no, you know? And then it really doesn't. And I think, you know, there's that whole, like, you know, there is no responsible whatever in a capitalist economy, that sort of thing. But there's also like, I struggle with this because I have one of those nice bikes, right? Like, yeah. I have one. By the way, the other 7 of my bikes are all pieced together from like secondhand parts and things and frames that I spent less than $500 on, right? Like, these are, for the most part, I treated myself to one nice bike. So there is like a little bit of guilt there. I have that, like, oh, maybe, you know, was too much money to spend on a bike. But I was able to. But like, in the year that I did find myself in a position to be able to buy that bike, I also was a standing member of my local DIY co-op. I volunteer at the bike co-op down in Trenton. I'm not trying to like virtue, like whatever. I don't know how to discuss this. It's hard. It's a hard topic. But like, I did those things on top of spending the money on the bike. And to think that if I had that money, that it would have gone, like, I don't know where I could even donate, that I would be able to feed that many people. You know what I mean? Like, usually the problem isn't the food is there. The food is available. It's usually like the resources to get the food to the people, or like, I don't know. Right. So I just don't understand where that concept comes from, that like that's the alternative. I think it's a false in terms of like is it bad rhetoric, right? Like the logic fallacies. False dichotomy is one of them, where you're saying it's either this or that, when in reality there's a whole spectrum of options in between, right? So I feel like this falls squarely into that logic fallacy of like, you can either have a nice bike or you can donate that money to food, feed people, or do whatever charity in general, right? Like that was the example that one person pointed out, but like whatever it is, and that's just simply not the case. That would have gone towards some other thing, and then on top of whatever other charity I do is different. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. So
Yeah, I would also say too, and I've talked about this with hang on, there's Pudgy coming through.
Pudgy Pedal Pusher became a member. At Pudgy Pedal Pusher celebrates 64 months of membership. I only have one nicer than the other's bike.
Yeah, I work with the Ohio and Erie Canalway Coalition, which is a convener organization for the canal towpath that runs through Akron. It's 110 miles corridor. They don't own anything, but they're the ones who they raise funds to get new stuff done. They meet with the partners when there's a piece of land they're trying to get through. They're the ones who are not necessarily going to own it, but they're going to find a way to get it bought, and they're going to find a way to do it. And so I've done video with a lot of very well-off people who are like working with this organization to make the pitch, and they also win, like they do like any charity event like that you do once a year. Like at this one, you become a canal boat captain, but they usually nominate someone who does have money, right? Who is been involved and is a cyclist or someone who hikes the towpath all the time. And then they know that person and their company is going to buy a table and this money is going to go to the canalway, and then they make their pitch. And I've just worked with some of these people who are absolutely fantastic. And not all of them are. There's a couple where I'm like, I could tell I don't like this guy. I could tell it's all about him and he's an egomaniac and whatever. But his money is still as green as the really nice guy I worked with, right? And it still went towards the thing that I really care about. And so whenever I have a personal problem with this guy, I think it goes again back to like looking at what this guy has and what his bikes are and all this stuff. There's someone here who is donating a ton of money to something I believe in, and percentage-wise, it's probably way less of his income than the time I ever volunteer or when I volunteer video services. But it doesn't matter. It's still way more money that gets way more accomplished. At the end of the day.
No, and I think that's the interesting thing is like the people that are donating are not. I hate to use this word, right? But like poor people, right? Poor people don't have extra money to donate. Rich people do. So the rich people that are buying the nice bikes are probably also the ones that are donating more to hunger, or like have the spare time, or like spare resources, really. Time is one resource, there's lots of them, to be able to help solve these problems in what little an individual can, because a lot of these are bigger systematic problems.
They're
right?
bigger systematic.
Putting the onus on one person to donate money instead of buying a bike to solve a problem is not a good. We live in a failed society if that. If that's the two outcomes, right? Is either this person doesn't buy a bike and donates the money, and then like this town can eat this week. Like, so I keep like kind of starting and stopping, but yeah, like but like rich is also a pretty vague term, right?
Yeah.
So like
it's different to everybody what that means.
Agreed, because like somebody might say like, oh, this person that has a whatever bike is rich, but in the grand scheme of things, like the truly rich people are so like try to put it into context, right? Like there's people that like, oh, this person has like an upper middle management job, maybe he's in sales and like does well and like can afford a nice house, a nice car, maybe has a nice bike, right? And then there's like truly fucking rich people, right? Like people that have like power and generational wealth, where it's like their grandkids are already taken care of, right? And it's like that's rich to my like that. We're not talking about the same like what just having a nice bike does not necessarily mean you're rich.
Yeah,
in that sense, of like the grand scheme of being rich, it means you put in the time potentially, or you had a leg up, or you came like we were talking about earlier, like you had some legs up, admittedly, probably starting off, and like great, but it doesn't necessarily, it's not the same thing as like being this quote unquote rich evil person, right? Because you have enough income to buy a decent bike. I don't know.
Yeah, one of the things I was saying, like, well, one, start off with one thing that I saw the first time at, like, the first Nutmeg I was at, which is Ronnie's event. Me and my buddy, we were at the first, like, there was a cidery, like a hard cider stop.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this woman who had a stump jumper. And someone was like, oh, that's a really cool bike. And she was like, this isn't what she said, but this is how we've always repeated the story. Like, oh, what, this old thing? You know, but it was like Chris King, White Industries. This build, like, even though it was a 80 stump jumper or 90 stump jumper, was $7,000, $7,000 build. It was like blinged out to the max.
Yeah.
It was not this old thing. And I think that's where I do see like how some people could be negative about that. And like, again, whatever she spent on that build, maybe she built it herself. I have no idea. Like I could see how that attitude can be off-putting. You know what I mean? And some of that kind of, like, then there's people that is not a lot of money to, and that is, but does that make her, like, does that make anyone a bad person if you're not thinking about that? Again, huge sense of community. I think of this like with my local bike shop. So if someone comes in and they buy new bikes instead of buying used bikes, and this bike shop has created so much of a community in our city. Like, it's changed the community in the 10 years they've been open. And so it's like, yeah, you go in and you buy a bike, and that money goes into this bike shop, and this is the guy who lives around the corner from me and is not rich at all. You know what I mean? It's like you support this small business who's usually supporting another small business who's supporting all these other small businesses. And it takes the people who have done a little well for themselves to make this stuff work, So I don't know.
No, Eric that I works at the shop has a really good thing. It's like, well, I hope my friends buy for me because my enemies don't. Like, the good. Anyway, there was something else I was going to sort of.
But I think when it comes back to it, is one of the things Ronnie and Arya were talking about, to circle back around, is this idea that everybody who is owning any of these alt cycling brands are actually getting rich. And I'm not saying nobody is, but I don't know anybody who is. Like I know some people who have like carved out a niche that's getting them by. You know what I mean?
Right. I think that's right. What we were just talking about is like the term rich is very vague. Rich, the meaning like they don't have to scrape by for every meal, or like rich in that their grandkids will inherit this bike brand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think we're talking about the first is the best case scenario for any of those brands, right? Is like, oh, I can afford to have a normal life because I worked really hard at this thing that I'm really good at. And that other people are willing to pay what it actually is worth. You know what I mean? I think that's the interesting part too, is like that bikes should be expensive in some way if they're well made and they're using good parts. When you do this race to the bottom to make cheap bikes, that's you end up with Walmart bikes. You know what I mean?
And I get the other idea is the used thing, but it's what my buddy Ben, who used the screen name Large Mars, always says. People come in for like more entry level bike shop bikes because they don't have the knowledge. So to be like, because my opinion has been that, like, man, you get so much bang for your bike used, obviously, and that's what you're doing. You're explaining that to people. You're showing people that way. But there's a lot of, like, say you live in a town without a good bike shop. It only sells roadie type stuff or whatever, or high-end mountain bike type stuff. So you go online and try to buy a bike not knowing anything about bikes. It's much easier to get a Fairdale or we were talking about some of these other
Kenyan or
because you were looking at one of the just some of these like entry level steel bikes that are not Walmart junk. You know what I mean? So when you get around the $1,000 range, I would say these
or like a
Poseidon
Primus or
whatever, like all this stuff.
Sure, I get what you're saying. Yeah,
it's just way easier to I don't know. I kind of lost my train of thought on that one, but
people keep doing that.
Yeah,
but to some extent, right? So the carbon stuff is different because there's a time limit on carbon. But I was listening to Planet Money a couple months ago. And they brought up an interesting point, right? Because a lot of people, like, if you take this conversation, move it over to housing, right? People are always complaining about, well, they build these luxury condos and luxury apartments that nobody can afford, and that's bad. And actually what it ends up doing is by building those, it actually it makes housing more affordable all around it. So it's not necessarily a bad thing that those are being built, because basically when you build that nicer thing, everything else that was previously the nicest thing is now no longer the nicest thing. They're forced to drop the prices now because they can't compete with the nicest thing, because they're not the nicest thing anymore. And that actually pushes that same apartment that was previously out of people's range down into what's something that could become their range, right? So we talk about bikes. If you're making nice bikes now, those are going to be the used bikes of the future. I should hope that they're nice. I should hope that they're using good components. We can talk about electronic as a separate issue, right? But like, that's one component of the bike. But if you are making this good quality bike, that is going to become somebody's second and third generation bike that is now much higher quality too.
My headphone jack went out.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it's back. Good.
Do you want me to repeat that?
Yeah, no, I got it. I got just that you stopped talking when I looked up. But and the other thing that I would say too is I was thinking of this in terms of, like, before we chatted, of artwork, and you could say, like, and so we could say, what is the practicality of any art? Like, right?
Yeah.
We could say there's zero practicality of art if you want to. And so what is the point of an artist? What is the point of anyone supporting any artist for art's sake? What is the point of a university and the state putting money into art? Like, one of my buddies had a huge commission to put in this giant metal sculpture at the University of Akron. It was this whole entire year. That happened. He hired me to document it. He hired other people to help install it, all this kind of stuff. So there are obviously things, but art for art's sake is not practical. So I would think, like, when we talk about custom steel bikes, so you order a custom steel bike from someone, whoever, Wild, Tomy, whatever, STS, name all the brands. Well, what are you doing? You're supporting an artisan. You're supporting an artist. And it's something that you can also then use. And again, these are almost always the people who are community-based and the most willing to give back if they have anything. And if they don't have anything, they're usually the ones who are doing the community work. And so I look at it in those terms. And would we ever say we shouldn't support artists, like anyone in our sphere? And
Yeah.
And I don't think that's the case. That's why we go out to these, like, little craft fairs and all the little things we do, when we try to buy what we can with the money we have to support someone. So you get to put something pretty in your place, but you supported someone who's going to support other people. And that's what community is. And it's the same thing with, like, so someone buys a really nice custom bike. Well, they bought it from someone who, like, learned a skill and is an artist, and, like, you're supporting that artist. And, like, I think if you say we shouldn't support high-end custom bikes, you're saying then you have to be lying about everything else. Then you also don't believe we should support a farmer's market, or, like, a third wave coffee shop
that you've ever taken should not be sold or paid for, because that money could have gone to charity, right? Like, where do you draw the line, and where do you, and, you know, and tattoos, great example also, right? Like, anyway, so I think we're on the same page. There is some valid criticism to certain things with bikes today, not necessarily leading to being good used bikes, that I think is fair criticism. I think one of the things that I actually currently like is the UDH. I feel like solves a huge problem. I know the hangers themselves can be a pain in the ass, but, like, took a problem where, like, hey, we had somebody bringing a Niner into us, right? And, like, real pain in the ass to find the derailleur hanger for that. Trying to find derailleur hangers for mountain bikes of a certain era are a pain in the ass. Standardizing that is a good thing. The problem is they standardize it to then essentially make it for electronic group sets, which I think the jury's still out on how long those are going to last for. I mean, I'm curious to see how long they do last, because it's a servo motor. There's a notoriously reliable components of things, like in other machinery. But, you know, like everything, it'll break down at some point. But, like, the question is, are they going to make non-electronic or, like, backwards compatible, or just, like, UDH derailleurs going forward? Or is this going to become something that's going to make it impossible to, like, continue to use these bikes in the future? That's something I worry about. And that's, I think, a fair criticism, saying, like, hey, building a standard around an electronic group set might not be great for the longevity of using this bike forever. I worry about that a little bit with the Wild that I have.
But you
But
also
so
have
I
a
think there's
steel
something to be
bike.
said about.
You do have a steel bike that could be modified by the original person to take something else as well. So
Absolutely, yeah. Dropouts are can be replaced.
yeah.
So yeah, that's I think.
There's definitely criticism to make of anything. Like again, as alt cycling becomes like again, like I felt like alt cycling was way more alt after my weekend in New York because
Mhm.
I do live a little bit in a bubble. I only go to alt cycling events for the most part, and then I do a couple races in Ohio here and there. But like I said, being out on was it you said W9? No, W9's a tax form. Oh, is it W? Whatever. And seeing like it does like the overwhelming amount of roadies in the world and stuff like that riding high end carbon bikes like was like a reality check on how
Yeah,
alt is. But as alt gets bigger, there will be trends, and there are people who are just trying to buy the right thing and make it look the right way. And it's not about being practical and rideable. And to me, that's should be the number one. Like again, there's nothing wrong with aesthetics, but like building a bike to make it right, like you're not just wearing non-kit because it's the cool thing to do. It's because that's what's comfortable to you. Like, and again, why I never make fun of anyone who wears kit, because if that's what's comfortable to you, that's also what you should do.
yeah, right.
But
Just right, yeah, like
but when you're, and it goes the other way, when you're being a roadie and you're buying stuff that's way out of your price range because the group ride is not going to be think you're cool unless you're wearing the stuff that makes Rafa look cheap, then that's stupid as well. So I just, I don't want it to go either direction. I don't want anyone, alt cycling should be everyone is welcome, you know what I mean, type thing.
mhm.
But it definitely, the more it grows and like just the way social media is, there are going to be the people who think like, this is the it thing to have. And if my cranks aren't silver, I'm not cool. And I just really want to avoid that becoming the thing. And that's where plenty of criticism should come in. And it's always going to be a thing. There's always those people, growing up in like the punk rock scene that they don't know a damn thing about anything that's going on. They don't care about the politics. They don't even really know the music. It's just a look. And then 2 years, they're going to look totally different and be into something completely different, So
Yeah,
should we check out the comments?
sure. I realize because I'm trying to avoid using specifics of an account, and I think that's why I keep kind of fumbling over my stuff. So apologies of not being eloquent because I'm trying to tread lightly and not use specifics on some things, even though they're what is. So there's a bit of like I keep sort of leaving out half of my thoughts. So it's apologies if I'm coming off sort of disjointed tonight.
I'm kind of going
I'm
all
trying
over
to be cautious of how I'm referring to things without putting a person on blast.
Yeah, I'm definitely going a little bit all over the place with just a general.
You are speaking way more eloquently and making good points. I feel like I am really not making the points I'm trying to make because I'm too guarded with trying to avoid something. So anyway,
I think you should just go for it. You said you were about to be the bad guy. I think let's hear the bad guy.
so that person has caused me so much agita in the last 6 months as well, I think. And so there is part of me that like does not want to give them any more attention or any more of my energy because they truly have sucked up. Like I get angry whenever I deal with this person on the internet, and I don't want to, and I don't want to continue to. And like I actually messaged Arya because I knew exactly who Arya was talking about. Without having to look it up, and sure enough, I was correct and mentioned like, "Hey, I've had frustrating interactions with this person as well," and like, please don't give it more energy because there's nothing you can do. So,
yeah, I was interested because when I came into the shop, I was telling you that I didn't realize what they were reacting to, and you kind of said that you had interactions too, and I was saying this early on when we were talking. I don't think anyone's above like getting a little ribbing or like that's just the way me and my friends are. And so in alt cycling, there's, lugs, not drugs, makes some funny stuff, send it safely, make some funny stuff. I I've just never followed Bicycle Pubes, but I see it get reposted, and some of it's
Sure.
funny, and it's gone after Ronnie, but in like a humorous way.
But
And
like a laughing with it,
yeah,
right? Like I'm
a
sure somebody
line.
would see that.
Yeah,
The target of that would see that and laugh along with it because it's so
exactly.
like sort of blown out of proportion. This is like making serious accusations at individual people and their life choices, right? Like
Going
that's
personal. Going
yeah,
personal is a different.
not over an aesthetic choice, not over. Frankly, most of the time, what they're making fun of is the people that follow that person or like idolize those brands, which is not that brand's fault.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? You can say about almost all the brands that that person loves. Also, like anyway, sorry. They're brands and brands, but like I think it's like these cult of personalities, right, are easy to go after. These people are kind of in on the joke. They laugh with it. This
Yeah.
is not does not feel like a joke. This is not good nature. This is not helpful. Who is this helping?
Well, I would say you don't need a. I don't think it's one person. I think there are people who there's a in the scene now. Like just because again it's gotten bigger, there's people who are taking down stuff on a mean level, and it's not one individual. It's multiple. Just that is like, and it comes from outside and it comes from within. It's just when anything gets recognized, there's always going to be that. And again, making jokes, even if like a roadie made jokes about alt cycling, if they were funny, I would laugh at them. Like
Sure.
being mean is not funny. Like being like, so if it was one of these roadies wearing like, God, what is the name of that kit that is, I can't think of it, but above Rafa that has gone like through the,
Pen, not, what it looks like penis.
I was thinking or not, but it's not or
Paz,
not.
there's Paz Normal. And
That's what I'm
Maverick.
thinking of, yeah. But just like ridiculously expensive. It's not made like Ronnie was saying. It's not made in a different factory than all this other shit. It's the same. It's the same stuff. It's not that it's not nice, but you're paying a premium to wear a label, and all that kind of stuff. So if someone who's wearing that stuff then shits on old cycling like as you like poor pieces of shit, then F that
Right,
person.
that's not fun.
Yeah, that's not funny. That's just like that's
Right.
not funny. But like if you make a joke about like gravel in general and the like, oh, another I don't know, like I can't think of a funny way to say it. I read them all the time, but that doesn't offend me. Like if you make it an actual funny joke, then it's not offensive. Like
I think the great good analogy is like I don't know if you follow the subreddit bicycling circle jerk, where
yeah,
it's right. It's all people that are in it making fun of themselves, making fun of these like fictionalized versions of like road cyclists and stuff like that. So it's like everybody's in on the joke. It's fun. It's good-hearted, right? Like, but yeah, sometimes that does poke it a little bit, and you can kind of make some points while still being funny and like get people to think about it. But it's like this like dragging downness, and it's not just that one person. There's a bunch of people that post stuff like that. And I tend to unfollow them just because like it doesn't do net good for anybody to continue to drag down people. And there's a point in party size cycling early on where I was shitting on a lot of bigger companies, though, to be fair, but like about just stuff, right? I had a voice for the first time, and I was like, "Fuck these companies," and I make a lot. But like, I stopped doing that because, like, well, who wants like that's bringing negativity? That's not helping. It's not going to change anything from these larger companies, right? Like, I'm not doing any good. So then started changing and really trying not to yuck yums and be positive and not make fun of something that somebody likes. Again, there's things like I will joke about. I've made memes about the soy disc trucker because I have one.
yeah,
It's a silly ass bike in a lot of ways. And like, it's that type of stuff. Like when somebody's in on the joke, it's a lot more fun and you can still get people to think about things. Arya brought up too, in communities that are actually, or like movements that are actually changing things, it's usually not through negative stuff. It's usually bringing people along. It's usually not pushing other people down that gets actual change to happen. So,
well, I think that's the same thing. Where it's like, well, I've talked about. It's been well known. I've talked about Canyon. I've talked about Trek on this channel, and when you ask about Canyon, it could be educational. Like I have 4 friends who have Canyons. Like why don't I like Canyon? Let's talk about it. I've watched like Francis Cade, and when he has his friend who's the bike shop owner on, he was like, when people bring him in to get him fixed with all their proprietary stuff, and we call Canyon and say like, hey, what do we need? Canyon dictates to them what they need to do and what they'll get paid for it. Fuck that. Canyon's not a good company. And again, I know that people don't live in places where they live in places where they don't have a good bike shop, so they ordered one online, they look cool, but then it breaks and they need to find a bike shop. The second you walk in the door, they know you didn't buy it at a bike shop because they don't sell it at bike shops. And Canyon then dictates to bike shops what they'll do. They're not a good company, and it doesn't mean the people who bought Canyons are not good people. There's a very different
Yeah, I
thing
agree
there.
with that.
And again, Treks are everywhere, and Trek stores are everywhere, and I have 4 Treks here. Like, the thing is, the Trek ownership is right wing. They were pieces of shit about the Lance Armstrong situation. They were horrible to Greg LeMond, if anyone cares about this ancient history. They also pushed a lot of bad carbon at some points that was very dangerous, with probably knowing it. And so I don't appreciate that brand anymore. Like, they're not like. But if you go into a store and you were trying to get into cycling and you bought a Trek and it's a great bike and it's been upgradable, it doesn't mean you're a bad person.
Right.
So I think
Yeah.
part of this is like educational. So as people get more into cycling who weren't into cycling, you could have that conversation in the right place. But to make something that says like, fuck you for buying a Trek or a Canyon would just be stupid and mean spirited and not helpful in any way.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
like, so.
Yeah. No, I mean, that happens, right? So especially in the area, we've had some people that show up on rides and show up on a new Trek, and like, even though Trek like share the same opinions, not something I'm going to then like be like, oh, I run a Trek. Like, no. Eventually, you know what? It comes up in conversation because they'll ask questions about it, or like, like, oh, I noticed something. Questions will just come up, and it'll naturally come up, and then a lot of those people come to realize, like, oh, now that I'm kind of getting into more of this side of it, like, I can see necessarily why this isn't like a brand that aligns with this. Maybe it's not a brand I align with. And then they come to their own conclusions, right? So I think people you don't have to go up to somebody and like shove it in their face that they have a brand that isn't, they will come to that conclusion over time if they care. And some people will never care. And you're not going to change the person's mind by trying to make them feel shitty about their purchase, right? Like, that works on such a slim margin of people that it's not even worth your time to try to do that if that's your goal, is to actually get people to buy fewer of this brand that you don't necessarily align with. So it's that you got to bring people with you. It's not, you can't just shove people. And that's across the board. That's just not what this, like, this is like everything that you want to change, right? It's way easier to do it when you have people on your side coming with you.
Yep. And there's so many, like, and I think you had some in your shop. There's so many great used Treks out there. People should buy them. People should buy those hybrids.
It does pain me a little bit every time I say something nice about what to consider.
Yeah. Like, my Trek 500 is my favorite road bike. It's a 1982 American-made bike that I've made a neo-retro build, and it's awesome, and it's badass. It's made in the U.S. It's got the old Trek logo. I love it. Like, I would personally never buy a new Trek. Like, there's a Trek sitting behind me on my trainer right here that I bought used. You know what I mean? Like, I would not buy a bike and give that brand my money directly. Like, but yeah, it doesn't mean anything about the people who keep buying, like, the ones that are out there and that are great. So. But I think the same thing is... Go for it.
I was alreys saying, Naptown brought up mad at them for selling bikes to cops. I had a shirt that I never ended up making, but it was a rip on a Nomad shirt. That was anyone but Trek, bikes for not cops. And I have had like so close to ordering, but I never pulled the trigger on it.
In the Black Lives Matter movement, the cops were pushing Treks onto these people, and they were Treks they got at a discount from Trek, and that is Trek's standpoint. Like, so... If you're being educated now, you're going to a bike shop and you're maybe on a certain side of the political spectrum, don't give that brand your money. If you don't care, whatever. But I wouldn't, so, and
I think that's the key point. If you don't care. Some people don't care.
Yeah.
Some people don't care. And that's the reality.
But if you want to be,
but they don't.
And they're not, and they make bikes of every level. Trek still makes good bikes. They do make really good bikes. They make good race bikes. They make, like, which I don't care about, but I watch the Tour de France, and I am not going to hate the pro who gets paid to ride one, because that's,
Yeah. I think the actual bikes themselves are perfectly fine. They're just kind of dull, in my opinion.
That's what 29 Pod said. Trek just
I just don't.
They're mass market. That's what they're going for.
Yeah. But actually, if say one nice thing, the new Marlins, I was in one recently to talk to somebody, and there was a pretty decent paint job on them. I'm actually pretty surprised at some of the legitimately good paint schemes on some of them these days, and not a super high end one, which is kind of interesting. Sorry, Side note.
Yeah. Trek is Jen said Trek is what I can afford and is what is around me. Yeah, and they have like the stores and stuff like that you
That's the
could.
reality too. Is there's so many Treks like the used market because there's so many Treks, so many dealers are Treks, so it just
Yeah.
floods sort of the market with them at the moment. So yeah. If you go to marketplace, especially in this area, I would say at least 75% of the used bikes are Treks at this point.
Yeah, and what they initially set out to do was like really cool. I mean, they were trying like the early version of Trek. They were trying to make like European steel bikes affordable and made in the U.S. That was the original business model. Like, and again, that's probably why I think my 1982 is one that I really like and I think is cool. And but yeah, whatever. They're like Shimano.
Fairly early adopters of mountain, like the making mass market mountain bikes too, right? Like that was
bring it to the world, making it affordable. Yeah.
Yeah.
At every level. Yeah, you could buy a really fancy Trek mountain bike and you could buy like my 01 4900 that is still working and is my winter bike and is running on, when it comes to drivetrain and stuff, mostly original components, so Shimano's the same way. Shimano makes like
when you line up Specialized, I think Specialized from that era, every Specialized is better than its equivalent Trek in my opinion.
That's probably
personally.
True.
Anyway, sorry, I digress.
Cannondale falls somewhere in there too, like a little above Trek, I would think.
But I've never owned a Cannondale. I need to at some point. Yeah,
I don't think I do either. But Erin has her winter bike is just like my winter bike. It's an early 2000s Cannondale 26-inch wheel mountain bike that's still running.
So one of the problems that we have that come, like a lot of the ones that come through have the head shock fork, and we kind of won't, just they're a crapshoot, and like the tool to whatever is if you don't have the tool. And so the problem I think with Cannondale pushing the tech side of things is like, well, that was great at the time, but like some of that tech doesn't hold up.
They're famous
so it really
for that.
makes it hard to jump onto something that I know is going to be a problem for myself personally, and especially now that I have a shop that I'm going to have to deal with this.
Cannondale's introduced some standards that they don't use anymore. Like even in bottom brackets, like Cannondale is they are a U.S. company that like for a long time was a company that cared, I think, a lot, but they've still done a lot that makes a lot of landfill, so.
Yeah. I do. Yeah. Naptown, Missy Giovi and the Cannondale team, and which also the Volvo, like I should have a Cannondale based off of that as well, because I'm a huge Volvo person. And that I think, side note, they should make a movie about Missy Giovi. I feel like that would be a good, I don't know if you know her whole story. She wasn't getting paid enough, and then was drug muling to make ends meet in the off season. Got picked up and sent to jail. Anyway, she's interesting person. There definitely should be a movie made about her someday.
And then they also, Terry worked with them a number of times, I think, on doing some of their promo stuff. I think that's how he had the Cannondale e-bike in one of his mountain bikes and stuff. But I think he does a new Cannondale ad that I haven't watched yet, or YouTube video, but it is an ad, popped up in my feed, and I didn't watch it yet. I almost wanted to message Terry like, hey, did you make this one? Because if so, I'll watch it. If not, I don't care. I want to see your cinematography, but I don't necessarily care.
Their partnership with EF makes sense. They do cool things. It's just I've never come across one that I wanted enough to buy it, or had it just never come across one that I want enough to buy it. Let's leave it at that.
Aaron's is a yellow, like the oversized tubing aluminum era. It's a cool bike. Yeah, for sure. And put the sweet bars on it, made it like what you have to do to make those old 26-inch wheel mountain bikes actually be comfortable. So
yeah.
I feel like I really wanted to go to one more point after Trek, and I'm trying to bring it back to what with my Canyon and Trek rant. It wasn't really a rant. It was the opposite of a rant, but trying to bring it back to what I was thinking about with this topic and that kind of thing. Someone did ask about Giant. Giant. What they just said? What about Giant? And I think Giant's name says it all. I mean, right?
The bicycle industry largest afterthought.
Yeah. I think almost everyone's carbon bike made in a Giant plant in Taiwan or China.
Giant is the largest bicycle manufacturer in the world by far.
Yeah. And they also, I think watching that, there's those documentaries on early mountain biking and stuff like that. And Giant is the one that, with Trek and a couple of the other brands starting to make and more mass market stuff. But Giant was the one who like totally ripped the designs and really, pushed it, which I don't know. I guess you could see.
I believe the owner was not a cyclist either. I think he was just
really?
a business person. Eventually got into cycling and philanthropy around cycling and things like that. I forget his name. He died recently, actually, I believe. But he, I don't think he like started riding his bike until well after Giant was established.
Like he saw it as a good business opportunity. I think Giant does come out, right? They did build their brand on early mountain biking, right? I think their early bikes were all 26-inch wheel mountain bikes, really based off
like the custom. Iguana, because they were the outsourced manufacturer for all that stuff. Like, Hill's oldest time.
Yeah, I wanted to do a little research into that actually before we started the stream, and then I watered the plants outside with my cat.
Cave Media has a good thing. They did one of those because they've done it with a couple of bicycle brands. They do like a deep dive about everything about a brand. They had a good one on Giant. Those are usually good. Side note in general, they've done one on Cannondale. They've done one on Giant. I forget what else they've done on. I usually watch those when they pop up because I learn a lot of things I didn't know. It goes way beyond just the Wikipedia stats for a brand.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to look into the ethics of how carbon bikes are being made now, because I know Look makes their bikes in Algeria and they have their own factory, and Algeria is a former French colony, so there's all those ties and stuff. But GCN did a thing there. It was a little Addy or whatever, but it definitely was a dedicated Look factory. I think when it comes to a lot of the other high-end carbon stuff and the molds, I do think almost, and I'm just saying this because I did not end up doing the research. This is from reading it early on. So if someone knows different, let me know, and nobody take this as gospel truth, but that it is like giant factories and stuff like that. And everyone is just getting them made by low-income workers in these same places that are making carbon molds and laying up the carbon. And, Calnago makes some really nice ones in Italy, but most of the ones the consumers are buying are still made in the Giant or something similar factory in a place that is not nice. And you would not like to know what it costs and what these people are making and what the markup is on this stuff. But again, this is not, don't take it as gospel truth, but this is how I understand most of the probably and lower and high end road bikes are made, if that number makes sense, so, you're not getting custom and stuff like that. So I think Look is one of the few brands that is still controlling the whole process, and most of the other ones are not until you get to the absolute pro level, and then you're in the $10,000, $12,000, $13,000 range. So, which is, again, that's punching up. When people are talking about these brands and riding these bikes for show and dentist bikes and all that stuff, yes, I do think that's stupid. Your return on performance once you pass a certain level is so stupid. It is all for vanity, So.
See subscribed to the channel.
If you had to buy an expensive bike, because I know that you famously do not really buy new bikes, what would you buy?
If I was going to just get something that I'd spare.
If I said, Tim, you have to buy a bike that costs at least $8,000, what would you buy?
Chapman. Probably a Chapman. Yeah.
Yep.
for the use that Dave, Chapman's on Flickr. That's another reason I. Just for that reason alone. But I mean, so he is kind of I don't want to say disciple, but a take on Weigel, which I love. I love classic lines. I love classic welds, and I love his paint jobs and making all the little bits, the little hangers for candies by hand, and just that absolute craftsmanship. Mm-hmm. They're just so cool. But then bring it into the ATB era, gravel era, where you got the clearance. I would say number 2 would be, I never know how to pronounce it. It's Tomy or Tom, Tom.
Oh yeah, I think it's Tomy.
His stuff is so cool. Since I'm not from the southern U.S. or southeastern U.S. and it has the desert motifs, I love it. But I don't think it wouldn't be number 1 over Chapman, just because it makes less sense in the Great Lakes, whereas a Chapman bike would look as good in Cleveland and Akron as it would in Connecticut. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
New England.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I love both those, independent like frame makers who are doing something that is truly next level. Like truly like artisan, like beyond what I think anyone else is doing. But
yeah. And like, it's funny that you pointed out that he's like, it seems like it's a person that you'd want to support too.
Yeah, like Aaron.
You know what I mean? Like
my
we were
buddy,
trying to talk about before, like, it's your Medici. You're a Medici when you're buying bikes at that level. I feel like you're almost like a Medici. You know what I mean? You're like the rich aristocrat. That's rich. Being like, I'm going to buy your whatever. I'm going to commission you to make me a song, an opera thing. You know what I mean? Like the old patronage system or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
You're making somebody else be able to live.
Illicit feedback said the Cigarro stuff on Tommy's drive me crazy, or drive me nuts. They are not native to Texas. Yeah, I think he's definitely from. I mean, he has an accent. He's from somewhere in the east, but
they are out of Texas. But I don't know that he's from Texas.
No, but I think he's lived most of his life there, and he's building bikes there. I guess that doesn't bother me. I don't feel like he's culturally appropriating Texas. There's cactuses. He's just putting cactuses on the bikes. Like he's not like putting Native Americans from Texas on the bikes. You know what I mean? And no offense, illicit feedback. It's not something that bothers me, but I get it. If you are from Texas, maybe you, like if someone moved here and was fabricating bikes and they were using Buckeyes, I would not be mad about it. So,
Sure.
But that's just my opinion. So Waterford.
I mean, I don't know if you've had a bike like that made, but a lot of times if you're getting a ground up build, a lot of times it is mostly the parts that end up being where it really gets, I think on my build well over 50% of the cost was on after frame and fork.
Oh yeah. So, I'm working with STS and they're based in Indiana, but the fabricator's in Michigan. So they use Michigan logos on the stuff, which I think is cool. But again, to make the frame and some of their forks are wild. It depends on what you want. You could do carbon forks and stuff like that too, but they're not doing forks right now themselves. Again, that's nothing. Your wheel set is going to cost more than the frame. For sure. Components are the issue.
And especially if you're picking picking a fancy seat post, something that nobody really thinks about, but like that was a surprisingly expensive part. It all starts to add up when all of a sudden you're putting it's a couple $100 for tires now, and now I want to switch out this part, and it's like it really starts to add up fast. Obviously, electronic drive trains are expensive, and I acknowledge that is definitely like a thing that might not be net good in the long run, but I think we've talked about it. It just works. Like if you truly want to like get on your bike at any point and never have to worry about cable stretch, or even though I know cable doesn't stretch, yada yada yada. We can talk about that as another episode. But
that's the phrase that we know what it means.
The phrase cable stretch, or it just works. Battery, I can't even we've talked about this many times. Just keep spare battery. I've never run into an issue. And for me, to just be able to have that and to be able to run road levers with a giant freaking cassette that I can get up all the crazy hills, which you saw around here now for the first time.
Yeah, my God. Party Size lives in a very steep place.
Yeah.
Because that's the first thing we started driving around. We were going to the coffee shop. He was picking up
We didn't have
coffee.
enough time to go for a ride. For those that might shame us for driving.
Yeah.
It was like I have to go pick up coffee beans from the collaboration we did at the local coffee shop. I have we're open. I'm leaving here by myself. Do you want to come with me? It'll be like 15 minutes
that's what we did. And
So
I was like, that was my first comment. I was like, you live in a very hilly place for someone who does not like hills.
That's why I needed road levers with a 52 in the back. And the easiest way to do that without having to mess with tan pans and goat links, all that stuff, is to just get an electronic group set and pick the components that you want, and they just work together. I'll go to my grave. It is better.
So let me say something very honest here as we're talking about how stuff holds up. So as we just mentioned, the two bikes I ride the most, I did not pay for the frames at all. I traded, so again, like, did you pay for stuff? Whatever. But no, I did not pay for the Raleigh Tamland 2, and I did not pay for my gunner, like, with actual cash. Like, I paid for the components as I changed them over times, and I did some trades for more stuff. Either way, the gunner went in for some stuff, and a lot of stuff was fucked up because of Gunk's Not Dead and other stuff I do in the winter. I didn't do everything they recommended at the shop, and I had a $600 bill on the gunner for the stuff it needed because components wear. And when you ride disc brakes and I'm running 10-speed Shimano flat bar shifting, it still just needed a bunch of stuff. And as you get into bigger cassettes and all that kind of stuff, even though I run 2x, stuff is just expensive. And then I took it in the Raleigh, and I literally rode the Raleigh in, rode the gunner out, and that needed a bunch of work too because I ride my bikes really hard, like I just did in New York, like just banging down rocks, ruining rims, breaking spokes. Stuff happens, and I ride thousands of miles a year. You wear out the chains, you wear out the cassettes, nothing you can do about it. $400. So again, I don't spend a lot of money on new bikes, but I still in the last month just spent $1,000. And so again, coming back to where it's like full circle, is this $1,000 I could have spent on the poor? Like, I don't feel like
Sure.
Or should I have bought 4 more cheap used mountain bikes, and then as one broke, just moved on to the next two?
Get in the river? Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, but no, I mean, that's a good point. There's a couple of components, right, that are not wearable that can be sort of rehabbed and last if they were older, right? So like derailleurs, older derailleurs, yeah, they're can kind of be bomb proof, right? Like newer ones, not so much. Is that it's not great, but that's like one component. You know, hey, we were just gonna try to talk about like road levers are so hard to find on the used market right now because
which I had no idea until I just broke one, and that was part of the cost on the Raleigh. And one of the people who worked at the shop gave me theirs for $100. And even when they messaged and said $100, I still went online and I was like $100. And then they were all 150 and 225. That was the range for 11-speed Shimano right now, front left shifter, which I did not think was going to be the case, but it was. So, what's the other option? I mean, I could put a bar end on there.
Bar end,
if you want to ride like that, that's fine. I have that on other bikes. I ride bikes real hard. You know what I mean? I'm glad I didn't go that route. I rode 98 miles on single track. I'm glad I had my STI shifter. It was worth $100. You know?
The reality is those don't hold up.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see. So here's one of the things is if the shitty part is SRAM could make a hard left and brick every fucking shifter in the world right now, right? Like that's the real risk that they could brick these things if they wanted to. I don't think they're going to. I think they're too ubiquitous now, and I don't think that would be a good look for them. But, if they don't do that, these might last better than the mechanicals road levers. Because what we're seeing is there is a real finite amount of time that those last. Because they're not on the used market right now. They're not out there. So these might actually be better. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell.
Yeah, because when I went into the bike shop with the Raleigh, I brought my old... So the set of levers I have on the Raleigh right now, Pudgy sold me. So I bought them used, but they were lightly used. They replaced the original 105s I bought off my buddy Ryan, who I was just staying with in New Jersey. And so I brought the old ones in, being like, harvest these together and make me a shifter. And they messaged me back, they're like, the same part is broken in all of them. So there was no... Of course. I could, that wasn't what was in my mind what was going to be the outcome, but it makes sense. It was the weakest link that had broken in all of them, and that was fucking annoying to hear. And I had to buy a shifter off someone who, thank God, donated off their bike for me to get my bike out to New York. So, I mean, but yeah, it is what it is. And again, you could be like, well, if you just stuck with 8-speed, how much is a 26-inch wheel box section rim going to hold up for the stuff I ride? How much money would I be in if I just kept trying to ride my Trek? And again, in my head, I'm getting mad. I'm like, I rode that Trek mountain bike for 20 years and it put $350 into it. It's like, did I ride that bike the way I ride bikes now? Or the mileage I ride bikes now? Or, there's a level, you cross. And so like, I guess the argument would become to the people who are like putting down, like spending money on stuff, like don't ride your bike the way you want to. Like, I mean, like, which would be okay, fine. But that just goes back to, you should then be like the time I spent in New York, I could also been working at the food kitchen. You know what I mean? True. That's true. You know what I mean? Like, I could have. Like, is that the way the world works? You know?
False dichotomy again.
Yeah.
It's not. You can do that. Your time is not. You don't have two choices of what to do with your time. The reality is, if you're not doing this, it would be something else, or it'd be probably something more mundane. In reality, that you'd fill your time with, and then you have these special moments of joy that you get. Like, and you know what? Not rather than, all right, here's where I'm going to be the villain, right? Way back whenever I decided that, like, hey, I wanted to change my career and I wanted to go into a direction that I thought would earn me a better life, right? And I would get home from work, and I had a kid at the time, and I would spend an hour to 2 hours after my son went to bed, and I would learn. I would work. I would study. I would do these things that ultimately got me to this other job, and that afforded me more comfort to be able to do the thing. I did that so that I could live a more comfortable life, right? Like, let's be honest. I made those choices. I could have done the other thing, but I didn't. And the reality is, like, okay, but on top of that, you can still donate your time. You can still do net good for the world, and you can still do these other things, and you can spend the money that you work really hard on to get the thing that brings you joy, because you gave up a lot of joy to do this thing to earn that, right? Like, that's the trade-off. And I wish we all lived in this, like, a perfect, you get as much as everybody else, but like, the reality is, if this is what we live in, and if there's a vote to change it, I'm happy to vote to change it. And I do vote to change it all the time. And I do put in time to try to change it. But the reality is, this is what we live in. And like, I have to function in this system as somebody that is responsible for people and that wants to avoid going insane, right?
Well, like I said, are we going to all move to a 60s commune? How many of those lasted?
Right.
Like, that's not the fucking reality of the world. Like,
Right.
There's a million songs about it. There's 8 Man by the Kinks. There's, like, whatever. It's just not.
Yeah.
It's not the reality of the world. Like, and I'm all
And
for
if somebody didn't, it's not like they don't deserve to, like, have their basic needs met and still do the thing and, like, not have to, toil to still not even be able to make ends meet, right? Like, that's fucked up. And I don't wish that upon anybody, whether you choose to spend extra time or not, right? Like, that's not the point of that story. It's just more like, I don't know, like, you work really hard and you want to get the thing you want because you put in all this work, and like, it's kind of what makes it worth it. I hate to say it, but like, it is.
So let's look at the other side of who you are, though. Having said that, you spend a ton of your time community organizing, getting people together, spending probably way too much time. I saw your post today about like how the night moves isn't working out, but you've still been doing it because it's something you believed in, and it's, how do I change it? So again, in times like these, and times like any times, like who humans are, the opposite of the individual capitalist is community. And whatever bikes people are showing up on, like to Terry's event or to Nutmeg or to what was Higher Ground or to the weekly group ride that is free and it goes to a brewery, that is the stuff that matters. Sticking together in community is so much more important, and can have so much more of a bigger effect and a snowball effect than some $500 fucking donation. Like, you know what I mean? Like nothing wrong with the $500 donation or the charity ride where the money goes to something, because I do those too. But like, sticking together in like the community building is so important. And
dude, you're not going to the park tonight. You're like making all of my points so much more.
Yeah, I don't know. I really look at that, and like I said it with our local shop, and I've said it with the first time, I think, one of the first. Oh, you put me in touch with Conversation Pace, who does Orange Blossom Gravel.
Steve, yeah.
And like, one of the themes of that live stream was like, I appreciate the people like you who do the work like this to like get people together and to form communities, because it's hard. Like, it's hard work. And man, it's so much more important than ranting on Instagram. Like, it's so much more important than taking down brands on Instagram. So let's talk about Crust. Cheech was there at Higher Ground. Cheech was working the aid station. Cheech was hosting the first party night, or the pre-party before the night before the ride, whatever they called it. Like, that's Cheech owns Crust, for anyone who doesn't know. So, man, I've been in contact with these people. Like, you know what I mean? Some of them, not all of them. And I just think it's so important. I think the Swift campout is a really cool idea. I have shit on Swift. Like, for what they did, they moved production overseas and they kept all their prices the same. That cost went somewhere. That difference went somewhere. It either went in their pocket or it went to shipping. And at that case, why didn't you keep the production here? Like, I run all Swift bags. Like, they're great. I think they led the bike packing industry, or the alt bike packing industry, in a great direction. I hear Ronnie and Russ talk about, from Pathless Pedaled, the owners over there with high affection. I have some other friends I'm not in the bike industry, it's not fair for me to say their names, who are not the biggest fans. So I have no idea where the truth is, probably somewhere in the middle. But I'm not going to buy another Swift bag. But I'm not going to make my current Swift bags landfill because they're really good. Like, if I bought another bag, it would be a Ron's bag, or it'd be a Bags by Bird, like I think you showed on your bike. It would be, or there's a local guy here, Fuzzy Stitchworks. There's people I've met in Michigan. I would go that route. So I think we should bring up Swift, because that is a brand that is a huge topic of conversation in the alt cycling world, and they've become ubiquitous. They're the one you see the most, so. But they make really, really good stuff. And even their now overseas stuff is made really good. They claim that the factories they're making them are giving living wages for where they're made and all that stuff. I have to take them at their word on that. But would I pay that premium for a non-U.S. made product? No way. I would not. I will not pay $200 for a bag that's not made in the United States, unless you're getting a welded waterproof bag, because those are not, nobody makes them in the U.S. It's a fact. The style bag Ortlieb makes are just, there's nobody who manufactures in the U.S. Like, it's just a fact. But for a bag that looks hand sewn and is made out of, Dyneema or all the like materials that are out there now, wax canvas, I don't need it to be made overseas. Like, I could get the U.S. made bag for the same price, so.
Yeah. We carry, we're going to start carrying, I sort of had to get enough stock up and running. And then I'm starting to slowly bring in the homie stuff, right? Brought in these shirts from Todd, brought in the top caps from Brian. I'm talking to Margaret about bringing in some hats. I want to start putting the homies on, right? We did carry Swift bags. I was carried Roadrunner, which is a locally made company, but
Roadrunner LA, right?
Yeah, LA. Yep, all made in LA. But we have not sell the Roadrunner bag, but we sell the Swift bags. I stock them because it's what people want. We're not direct with them. We get them through Mary sales. But there's only so many bags I can consistently get. But we're probably going to bring in PNX bags from Stephen from out Portland, or some other small makers, right? Now that we have sort of okay, I have the nuts and bolts now, I can sort of bring in the other stuff. So I am a little bit torn on that with Swift, because actually now you don't even necessarily. I think their bags are good. They're just not my personal style of bag that I like. I like a really big. I just don't think they make a big enough bag, in my opinion. I like really big front bags, as we've talked about in the past. I don't think the Zeitgeist is big enough for what I like to be able to put up front. So you got to remember, as my size, and being vegan, so I don't have downs. In the winter, if I'm putting a winter coat in something, it would take up an entire Zeitgeist. I wouldn't be able to put anything else in there. So if I want to bring a flannel and then a change of socks and some snacks and some other stuff, right? All that's out of the table. If on a Zeitgeist, if I'm bringing a puffer. So that's more of the reason why I've never been into Swift. But I'm curious. I haven't done enough research. I'll put it that way. So I don't necessarily want to say, but I could see a path where it's well, to sort of counter your point, if they were losing money at some point, well, that's where the money went.
Yeah,
to be able
that's
to
true. That's
survive.
True. If you're running if you're running your company and you were never profitable, and they went for the margin because they are the biggest name in what we call
that's
it.
Hard to, and scaling to that point locally might not have been feasible. And I hate to say it, I don't know enough. I'm just
Yeah.
positing that there might be an alternative reason other than greed.
And I will say too that
And not that you're saying they're greedy, but just like there might, I could see that. Like if
Yeah,
you
and
had a choice between I don't get to do this company that I've built goes under because we can't keep up with the demand locally, or this, I would probably choose that too. I hate to say it.
yeah, and what is her name? Mariana?
Martina,
Martina.
I think.
Don't know her. Never met her.
Met her once,
Like I
like
said,
Mid-South, but
yeah.
don't know her from Adam.
No other people who, like I said, sing her praises and like when you read the comment section when someone talks about stuff I've talked about publicly. I'm talking about publicly right now. Like there are some people who are like, she does amazing things for the local community. And again, so if they're making more profits and they're putting it back into their community and it was a more efficient way to do it than making them there, cool. Like that's great. And then I'm a supporter. And if she or anyone else wants to reach out with more facts, I'm down for it. I am always down for the facts. I'm just saying to switch production overseas and to see the same price. And from what other people have told me,
that is a fair criticism.
They were never hurting to begin with. Is what other people have told me. Again, what people have told me, not facts, just what other people who say they know that brand very well have said. So that's just where I'm going with this. And I'm not going to ignore the elephant in the room because I think they are kind of the elephant in the alt cycling room. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I run their bags. They're American made bags. But so
I think there are, other than so that's the tricky part, right? So with us, people aren't coming in necessarily being like, oh, I want a Swift bag. Some people have. Other people are just coming in and being like, I need a bag, and I explain to them like, this is different than your normal burrito bag, right? Like, here's all the things you can do with this. I'm more selling the concept of this style bag than Swift. But I don't know that there are so many other bag makers. I don't feel like you need to say if somebody cares enough to seek out an alternative to a bigger brand like that. There are so many options. You don't have to work that hard. I feel like it's almost a lay person that is not in touch with our community at all is the only. But I say that you have Swift bags, so I'm not trying to talk shit on you either. But
yeah.
But you know what I mean. But there are so many other options. I don't think you need to go out of your way to tell people that. I think if people know that there's other options, you could throw a rock and hit a bag maker.
Yeah, I'll say a few things. Found them early on.
Yeah,
there's stuff I think is innovative. I think taking the Paradise style and modernizing it, and maybe I'm wrong. If someone thinks they stole someone else's design, again, let me know. But I do think
I don't think so.
I do think they modernized the Paradise style bag. Not dealing with leather straps and buckles is, again, if you want that look, I get it, and it's fine. But Swift did something innovative. And their other bags, their basket bags and stuff, I think are the non-roll top style. Roadrunner makes great roll top style. A lot of other brands do too. I think they innovated there with the fold down zipper top that goes over the walled basket. Sorry, not to offend you with the walled basket talk, but I think
sorry.
I do think they are a brand that did innovation, and they're important for that. And so yeah, I have because I run them on my stuff. So I think outside Russ, I have got to be one of the top influencers on Swift. I have never heard from Swift. I have never talked to Swift. I had to go through some third-party website to get a Swift affiliate link. I started using them, and a lot of people, and it wasn't just because of me, but me and Aaron and a couple other people just really liked the Catalyst also, which is the smaller Zeitgeist with those pockets.
Yeah. That is actually our best-selling bag at the shop by far.
So Otis at the bike shop wanted to get them. It wasn't easy. It was a pain in the ass. The markups are tiny. So I guess I do have more of a beef with them. I have a slightly personal one, and then also one from knowing someone who's in retail trying to get wholesale pricing that did not go very smoothly. So you talk to local bag makers, and they're so much more willing to work with you, or even, I don't know. So I guess I have to say that, yeah, I do have a slightly negative impression that, I don't know, from all that.
That's all fair criticism. Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that you were jump through all those hoops and
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So on a personal level and on someone who's in retail, like neither of us had a great personal experience with the brand. So, but I used to always do the Swift camp out, and we always called it the Swift camp out, and we still do it. And now I just call it the Solstice camp out. And just like the Rafa Festa 500, I still love that idea, and I just call it the Festa 500. Like I have Rafa stuff, but they don't need my support. Like they don't need their branding on my YouTube video. Like what I mean? Like, and Swift doesn't either. I don't think so. Yeah. I don't know. I guess that's where I stand.
Who else is making? Just trying to think. There's like consistently available, like long running products in the bag space. Roadrunner, I think somebody mentioned that. Avea Negra.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest. Like I don't know. I've never had any of their stuff. I don't know if it's good or not. But
no, I have friends who do. It's quality.
It's good.
Dark Realm.
Sodero, right, is the other one.
Yeah.
That's pretty big.
Rogue Panda. Did you say Rogue Panda?
I did not, but somebody mentioned that too, I think. So I'm just curious, like, so there's a level where I think, okay, you're now manufacturing at a certain scale. I think that's hard to do here. Not saying it's not a worthwhile endeavor. I just, Ronnie and Ari talk about it all the time, right? Like, it was very difficult to do with somebody supposedly that's rich, right?
Yeah.
As a trust fund. No, I'm kidding. We talked about that. But so I wonder if there's just like the reality of like, are any of those other companies operating at their scale? And if so, how are they getting it done?
Yeah. No, it's a good question to ask. But again, you look at Ron's bags.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think in the video, did he directly address Ron's bags and its profitability? They did talk about the profit margin, the exact profit margin they put on their Ron's bags.
Yeah, they did mark it up 30%, I think.
But he didn't. But I don't think they actually talked about the scale of Ron's bags. So what they're...
No, they didn't.
But again,
but here's the thing, right? If you go into the Swift site, most of their products are in stock. If you go onto Ron's bikes right now, most of the products are not in stock. He releases a small batch and it sells out. We're not talking about apples to apples there, right?
Yeah,
that is not the same scale of manufacturing. And I don't care whatever you think about those companies, scale in manufacturing is a huge determining factor of where you can get stuff done, right? Like, just the shitty reality that we live in. And I'm not talking about like the cost, like just like physically how there are only so many facilities, there are only so many workers, there are only so many skilled people in those areas that you can even do in a certain geographic area, right? In this country, like that's just the reality.
Yeah.
You say it's not how we need to move towards that and to be able to do that there, but like we don't have that now. So if you want to keep your product in stock and to be able to like consistently serve customers and do wholesale, Ron doesn't do wholesale on those, as far as I'm aware.
No, he does not. Right? He can't.
So, and you want to be able to have a dealer network and do all this other stuff, right? Like, the question is, can you make bags here? I don't know.
The question is, do you need to scale up to that level? Someone else brought this up, and I've talked about this before. There does come a point where like one is more, and again, I don't know what level other people live at. Like, the owners of Swift, the owners of Crust, I don't know what level they're really living at. But Crust, again, does sell bikes in batches. They do not have constant in stock bikes. Sklar does not have constant in stock bikes. Wild does not have constant in stock bikes. They get a shipping container. They get them made. It needs to get on a container ship. It might be stuck in the Strait of Hormuz because we have a fucking idiot president. Like, you have no fucking idea. Like, so it's such a different thing. But at some point, I do also think at some point, like, REI is taking a huge cut of Swift, right? Is it worth being in REI? Is it worth being like, I just think this capitalist idea.
I forgot that they were at REI also. Yeah. That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
It does become a capitalist point of like, when do you need to keep growing? Like, I've always said this about like newspapers. So this is now an argument that's probably too old, but our local newspaper had never lost a dime. It got bought and sold 1,000 times, and now it's this tiny fucking rag owned by some horrible corporation, right? If some guy like Bezos, who like bought like what the Washington Times, but some local guy bought the paper for what it sold for and just let it run the way it did, money would go in his pocket every year. And maybe that's not true in 2026, but through the early 2000s and the teens, money would have went in his pocket every
Yeah.
year. It's the idea that everything always has to be more and the margins always have to be bigger that I don't understand. And I'm not putting this on Swift because I don't know that's what they're doing.
Right.
But I do think that's a huge problem. Like, where
Oh yeah, with the country, with like the current
restaurants.
capitalist
Look at your
society
great
in general,
local
yeah.
restaurant that opens a second, then a third, then a
You,
fourth.
you don't work in corporate America, but I have, and yes, it's the grow. Like there's never enough growth. It is. You grew that last year, great, grow again.
Yeah.
We're making the same amount of like profit we did last year, not good enough, right? Like it's always has to be growth at all expenses. So, like,
Yeah.
that sucks.
You like
It
again
sucks to work in.
the local restaurant thing. It's the same fucking thing. It's like you have 3 that are successful. Stop there because now you're going to cheapen everything. We're going to find out, and then eventually you're going to fail, and no one's going to go to any of them anymore. Like
Yep.
don't ruin. Like when is enough enough? Like and so and again I don't know that's the
and I
Swift
don't
case.
disagree with you there at all.
Yeah.
And I'm not even defending them or any manufacturer. I'm just sort of, I am trying to counterpoint sort of just to think through like, well, why would they do that?
Yeah, and you might be right. I mean, like you might be like they never made a dime. They just because there's plenty of small business owners who are
There's
not
also,
paying
it's
themselves.
tricky. There's also, she's not the only owner, I believe. I think there's another owner and maybe more than one. And that could also be, if you're splitting that pot however many ways, that could be why.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't enough to feed all of them. You know what I mean? And when you have a couple different people owning it, maybe, because a lot of these other brands I feel like are owned by like one person in a lot of ways, or two.
Yeah, I'm on their mailing list, and I've never gotten off. And their one from right before I left for New York directly addressed a lot of this, and I think it's
really?
because the conversation on social media had just really kicked up again for the first time since they moved, and it might have been the individual we had referenced. It might have not been. I have no idea. There might be other conversations. I don't follow everything.
Sure.
But it was like they put out an email that was like in a strong defense of like their position. Like it was interesting to see. I screen capped it and I did send it to some other people.
Can you forward to me? I'm curious. I would like to read it. I don't have their mailing list because, like I said, I've never really personally been much interested in their bags. But
yeah,
I
think I'm on the list.
Very interested in reading it.
I think I'm on the list because of the Swift camp out. But yeah, and they also run a fucking horrible e-commerce site. Maybe they've upgraded it, but they went like they were running an e-commerce site that's like mine, where you can't like, so I've shut it down so this doesn't happen in certain ways. But when you would batch stuff, it could not like batch ship it. It was charging you that individual shipping and everything.
Huh.
So a few years ago, we were trying to get some of the Swift camp out swag, like just like a bandana and the patch. And it was like putting 5 on both.
I do remember that. Yeah, because
And
I
we're
think
like,
I bought their
"Fuck
water
you."
bottles the one year because they had that like blue and purple design. It was like $20 in shipping for water bottles. I was like,
I'm
this
like,
is
you guys are big enough to have a person to figure this out. Like,
That's a good point.
like it was like really frustrating. And Aaron actually directly messaged them, and they were like, sorry, try it again. And it was like, and so the bike shop was able to batch order stuff, and I think that's the last time I got some of their like swag because I was like, dude, this is stupid. It's stupid.
Yeah.
Like,
I can understand with the other bags 'cause I feel like they are big enough that they ship in an individual box. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they might already have them boxed up. So they might have that setting turned on because bags ship that way. And then when you order something else, but you're right. They're big enough at that point, especially if they're doing all this other stuff at scale.
you're doing logistics
Shut
where you're
the
having
big
container ships come over from China. You could figure out e-com.
Yeah,
Sorry. I'm sorry. There's no excuse
Yeah.
for that. Like,
I agree. With
hire that person first. You know?
You are not wrong. I don't even know why I'm trying to justify anything to do. I have no dog in this fight. I'm trying to make for interesting conversation here. Yeah, it's grown. I don't know. This sounds like they suck. I don't know.
You figured it out, and you sell. Yeah.
You know what? No, I haven't. I've then currently stuck on this. I need to figure it out because I ship in soft bags, which as long as they're under a certain size, everything. What's up? Yes, yeah. I haven't used those in a while because of that crazy sticker mule guy. Those were from Sticker Mule. None of our stickers or products are from Sticker Mule anymore for the last few years. Anyway, but it's way easier because you don't have to worry about. You just have to do weights. So if you load the weights in and pick a rates at checkout thing, it adds up the weight and like just adds it. Once you're doing weighted volume stuff with the boxes, that's a whole other ballgame that I have not figured out how to like be able to do yet. So we are currently not shipping any of our stuff like that's in store really.
Yeah.
So that's something I gotta like sit down and spend 2 hours and work through, but I haven't done it yet.
Once you figure it out,
I'll be sure to send it over to Swift.
no, send it over to me. Fuck them.
I will say so. To back up for a second, I am now like ordering from wholesalers, bike wholesaler. I am constantly amazed at how much they can fit in a box and how well it's packed. Like how insanely intricate these pack jobs are, and how good these people are at it. Because I was like, there's no way this is $600 worth of bike parts, and I in one box. And I opened the box and like, sure as shit, everything's all in this one box, and it's amazing to see what they can do. I don't know how they do it or how that gets figured out, but I'll figure it out eventually.
Yeah, I have that problem with like, I had a guy come into the photo store today, and he was like, "Oh, I saw you got that new flick film," and I'm like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Then I got these other new fancy ones because I needed more black color chemistry to develop color film." But it's like, since I have to pay shipping on everything, it's like you can't just order that because then my margins are gone. So it's like, let's figure out what else I need. Then it's like, well, let's try some new stuff and hope that it sells. And there's like,
yeah.
But yeah, it is like same thing.
Yeah,
it's like it's come in a box.
How
so
the bike industry works.
yeah, have them stuff
Right.
other stuff in that box because it's going to be these chemicals with a bunch of that. It's nice. They use those recyclable peanuts that just like dissipate in water, but they'll just throw like the boxes of film into that stuff because that's not delicate. And so it's like, might as well have them fill that space with other things that both of us got a margin on. So
They hired former Tetris champions. Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. I'm constantly. Although Q sucks, I will say. JBI is very good. Q almost, I don't know if it's them or FedEx, but almost everything we get from them is damaged.
really?
Big bone to pick with them. We just ordered we wanted to get like a fairly inexpensive car rack to just have in the store so we can point to it when somebody's like, do you sell racks? Like, we have this one, or we can order you a Thule or whatever, Yakima. I mean, we had it, but like, yeah, if you just need one for right now, we have this one. If you're just, for whatever. So they charge you flat rate shipping because that one ships from a different thing. So I had to pay shipping specifically for this box. They ship it in the box that you would put up in the store, not like an outer box. And then it had a giant hole through the middle of the box. So I like can't even, so I called them up to like, be like, whatever. They're like, oh, well, what if we like gave you 20% off? I'm like, no, you charged me shipping specifically for this and it arrived damaged. Fix it. Like, I don't get how they get away with it. And just in general, like, I don't know. I'm starting to like Q less, but unfortunately they are just the reality of like, you have to deal with them.
All cycling. Yeah. It's funny. I realized my wholesaler for film and darkroom equipment doesn't charge you separate shipping when something is back ordered, but the website says that it's back ordered. So now I order a bunch of back ordered stuff knowing that it's going to come free of charge later. Before
there was a rep for a very reputable company that was like, find something that's back ordered till January and order it. And then like you'll be able to like, it'll cancel out and you'll be able to get free shipping. I was like, okay.
It's such a funny thing to do. It's like, it's such a weird thing that they do, and it makes sense, but I guess there's a way they should be, I hope they don't hear this, should be less explicit about it, because it is one of those things where it's like, why I was at first not ordering it because I'm like, well, I don't want to pay separate shipping for this because it's not going to ship at the same time. And then once I realized that, I'm like, oh, I do want it, and I want it as fast as possible. Throw it all on there, double it, because I'm not going to have to pay for it to get shipped here.
The games.
Oh my God, yeah. Running any kind of business is a weird, and the things you learn, like we're talking, behind the scenes are fascinating.
I will say, coming from, I forget if we talked about this on here or not, if it was like a separate conversation, but just I'm constantly surprised at the lack of, like, from working in a different industry and launching products and like having support and like supporting the sell through of products. Like, man, these people just like, I can understand why the bike industry doesn't do well. Just straight up, some really dumb things about it. You just like don't give enough support to the person actually interacting with the customer to be able to sell your product. Like, we had a whole wall of this thing, and I was like, hey, do you have any sort of materials that, even I don't care if I have to print them, but like, do you have anything that I can show like all the colors that's available? I have a huge display of this product. Nothing. They have nothing to give you to help you sell this product. They have no sort of like, it doesn't even have to be like a big POP display, but just like, give me something. Give me like a sell sheet that explains the different, like, okay, you have this thing and there's 3 different levels of it. Give me something that explains the 3 different levels, even so I can educate myself with it without having to like go or like give me some sort of like little thing that I can print out and put next to it that like self explains like what the 3 levels of this thing are. Like, this is stuff that you would never think about launching product without all this like sort of support material in the industry that I came from. And like the bike industry is no problem just like being like, figure it out. And like, oh, and you wonder why nothing sells through. Anyway, I'll get off my horse for a second.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? Should we wrap it up here? I think we...
Yeah, thank you for making all of my points for me as I stumbled. The last thing I was just like, yeah, I have as a person that comes out of punk and likes to do that. Like, I always had like a little bit of a, once I started making decent money, it's like a guilt. Like, so I get it. It's so hard for me to talk about it like that because I feel like coming off like an asshole, but it's also like, I don't know. I worked really hard. I like nice stuff, and I wanted to get the nice stuff. So I feel guilty about that sometimes, but it's like,
I guess mine.
Do what you gotta do.
It's funny because I think mine is like turned like, whereas I come from a very comfortable, not upper middle class, but very comfortable middle class family, because upper middle class has come to mean something else, I think. Yep. But very solidly middle class, and not what people think of themselves as middle class. A true like suburban middle class person who was a punk.
No, that was by my upbringing as well. But it's because my dad went to night school and got a computer degree and was able to like be able to help my brother and I pay for college, right? Like, it wasn't a rich thing, or it wasn't like we had, but like he did the same thing that I was just talking about, right? Like, he put in this time and went to night school while my brother and I were alive, and he's working as a FedEx driver, speaking of FedEx, and like worked his ass off, got a job in like an emerging field, and like made a better life for our family. And then we were able to do that. So like, we came from a place of privilege, like you and I were talking about off camera, right? And recognizing that, but like, I kind of had to do the same thing, and I hope my son does it too, right? Like, I don't know if he doesn't have to, but I hope that like he pulls himself up and makes something of himself, right? Like, doesn't, then I'm not going to be able to like pay for everything, and I don't know. I'm going on weird circles again. I get like really, can never get comfortable talking about money stuff. I don't know why. It's like a punk thing. I don't know.
There's one of our shows online, and we're playing at this total DIY venue, and someone yells out in the crowd like, "Where do you guys come from?" And I was like, Bath, Ohio. Like, I didn't say Akron. I said like the suburb, like the nicer suburb that we actually practice in, and where we live, and where me and my guitar player's parents live at the time. And like I thought it was hilarious to be like that honest, like, you know what I mean? Like, we come from Bath, Ohio. Like, you know, we're not poor kids. We are not, and we're not. Yeah. And we're not dressed like we're poor kids, and we're not trying to pretend we are. Like, but we really love music, and we really care about this community. And if that puts you off, then I guess we're not for you. You know. So, anyways, and same thing. My parents still have money, and I still bust my ass.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I feel like you and I are similar always to that. Yeah. But anyway.
All right. Let's wrap it up. This was fun. It was great to see you last Thursday in person too.
It really was. Nice to see you, especially because I missed Gunks. I missed our biannual hang. Yeah.
So, but you said you guys might close down and head out to Nutmeg.
Yeah. No, we're definitely. I will be at Nutmeg. I'm not missing that for sure.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thanks as always. Peace.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
All right.
Okay,
Yeah.
this time.
Fitzwater photo.